78% of Americans are living paycheck to
report
paycheck.
finds more Americans say they're struggling to keep up with paying their bills.
And the reasons why have nothing to do with how much money people make, but more so about the poor decisions we make. And if we continue to fall into these 5 main traps, we're destined to be broke forever. The first and one of the biggest signs that we can predict that someone will stay in a bad financial state is that they don't have dedicated funds set aside for emergencies. See, most people will put their money towards bills, car, house, entertainment, even investing, but we forget about one main law, and his name is Murphy. The law that's been proven over time that anything that can go wrong will go wrong at the worst possible time. The car breaks down, the AC goes out in the middle of August, and these are just things that have happened to me in the past 12 months. But I know everybody experiences things like this. And if we don't have any cushion to cover these unexpected expenses, it'll likely keep us broke forever. And here's why. In a recent study from the Federal Reserve, it showed that a shocking 40% of Americans lack enough money to cover a $400 emergency expense without turning to credit cards or loans. Now that's a scary way to live, because if every time that something went wrong, we had to borrow money from somewhere to cover that expense, we'll be getting charged interest. And if you're not familiar with what interest is, it's simply an added fee for borrowing money. And that can be in the form of a credit card, personal loan, and it goes on and on. And in my opinion, having an emergency fund is one of the smartest things that you could do, because anything could happen. A medical emergency, and the average cost of that is about $2,000. Car repairs, you're looking to spend anywhere between $500 to $1,000. Home repairs, that's anywhere from a few hundred to a few thousand. And all of those things are stressful. But I think the worst of them all is job loss, where you're either taking a major blow to your income or have no income at all. And I can speak to this from experience. I recently lost my job and got blindsided out of nowhere. But thankfully, I had an emergency fund in place that kept things afloat until I was able to reestablish an income. Now, if you may have ever faced a situation where you had to turn to a credit card or a personal loan to cover unexpected expenses, to avoid this in the future, financial experts suggest putting away enough money into a separate account that can cover 3 to 6 months of your expenses. Not only will this give you cushion to cover these emergencies, but it'll prevent you from borrowing money and paying interest on top of it. And I think what's even better than that is it'll give you more peace of mind so you could sleep better at night, knowing that not if, but when something goes wrong, you'll have the money to cover it. Another major sign that keeps someone from winning with money is if they love to swim in a sea of car payments. Most people don't think this way, but if you can't pay for a car in cash, then you can't really afford it. Because living with car payments is guaranteed to keep you in debt, and it keeps you paying a ton of high interest. And you don't want to end up like these guys.
How much is your car payment?
Mine's $700. His is $900.
And their car payments?
My truck payment is $970 a month.
Good God.
See, the average car payment in America now for new cars is $730. And for used cars, it's $530. And that doesn't even include the cost of insurance and maintenance. So I'm sure you can see how this can put a dent in somebody's income. But I will say in most cases, depending on your money situation, that it's more practical to buy a used car versus a new car. Because one of the biggest problems with buying a new car that will keep us broke forever is known as depreciation. There are tons of studies that show that within 5 years, a new car will depreciate about 60% of its value. Let's say you buy a brand new car that costs $50,000, and after 5 years, it depreciates 60%. That car would then be worth $20,000. Now, over that 5-year period, you made that grueling car payment every single month. But let's not forget about the interest that you paid. So when it's all said and done, you would have ended up paying $60,000 for a car that's worth $20,000. So really we'd be losing money twice because of interest paid and depreciation. I mean, it'd be like taking a $100 bill and ripping it in half and then setting it on fire. And for that reason, my personal opinion is only paying cash for an affordable car based on your income. And furthermore, I would stay away from buying a new car unless you have a net worth of $1 million or more because of the fact that it depreciates so quickly. Now, this next reason that keeps people broke is what I think that most of us suffer from, and that's not having any form of a budget in place. See, most of us look up at the end of the month and have little to no money left, but we don't know where it went. And this point has been demonstrated by a recent study by CNBC showing that 73% of people don't regularly follow a budget. And look, I get it. The word budget sounds terrible. I mean, it's like we're getting an allowance or something. But the thing is, the truth about a budget is that it's not about restriction, but it's about aligning your spending with your goals. And without having a budget, it's easy for our spending to get out of control. I mean, check out some of these statistics. The average American household spends nearly $18,000 a year on non-essential items. And this is one I thought was interesting. In 2023, the average delivery service customer is spending nearly $400 a month. I mean, you talk about Uber Eats, Instacart, DoorDash, all those things add up. And this pattern of overspending can prevent us from saving money, investing, or even just covering our bills. And it just leads us down the path to, guess what? Borrowing money. But if you're looking for an easy way to control your money and stop spending $400 a month on Uber Eats, here's the best tool I found. What if it was possible to receive an extra $500 a month without doing any work for it? Recent data shows that the average person who takes the time to monitor where their money is going saves nearly 10% of their paycheck. And one of the easiest ways to track your spending is by using Rocket Money. Rocket Money is the #1 mobile app on the market that helps people track and save their money every day. This service easily connects to your bank and creates a personalized plan to keep more money in your pocket each month. One of the best features is their unique concierge team that finds and cancels unwanted subscriptions for you, and they negotiate bills on your behalf to get you the best rates possible. Whether you're looking to save money to pay off debt, invest for the future, or finally take that much needed vacation, Rocket Money can help you achieve your goals. You can check out everything that Rocket Money has to offer by tapping the link in the show notes below. Don't delay your financial peace any longer. Sign up today and join the more than 3 million people that have taken control of their money. The next major wealth killer, and this is the one that makes me the most upset, and I'll tell you why later, but it's revolving credit card debt. I'm already getting pissed. Now, this is the one that gets the most pushback. And most people argue, well, what if I pay off my full balance every month? Well, then you paid off your full balance and you're not paying interest. And if you can predict the future and guarantee that you're never going to get laid off, or that you're not going to shred your Achilles playing a game of pickup and have to come out of pocket for those medical expenses, then go for it. But the truth is, this country's in over $1 trillion of credit card debt. So somebody ain't paying the full balance every month. Now, credit cards are the most common form of debt, and they charge the highest interest right next to the criminal payday loan. And I'm not going to go into a bunch of stats as to why they keep us broke. I'll just give you my personal story. See, this was some years back, and money was tight at the time, so I ended up maxing out a credit card. And it really wasn't even that high of a credit limit. It was only $1,500. And because I needed to save all of my paycheck for other bills, I just put this credit card on auto pay and paid the minimum balance due. But a few years later, I was trying to get my act together and start cleaning up some of my old debts. And I had completely forgotten I even had this card. But I remember that the max out balance was like $1,500, and I was paying it for 3 years. So I probably owed like $500 or $600 left on it. Bro, I looked at the balance and it was still at $1,300 after 3 years of making payments. And the reason why the balance was still so high is because of this thing called, say it with me, interest. Now I'm going to show y'all something, but if you have a credit card, I dare you to go look at this. Because every month, your credit card company will send you a credit card statement. And on that statement is a section that has some disturbing information. If you look at the statement of the credit card that I had, you'll see that it shows a new balance owed of $1,311. And underneath that, it gives a couple of payment warnings. But the one that I want you to focus on is the minimum payment warning. And that reads, if you make only the minimum payment each period, you will pay more in interest and it will take you longer to pay off your balance. Now, we've already covered what interest is, and that's bad enough, but that's not even the worst part. The next part of this credit card statement shows a chart, and it says, if you make no additional charges using this card and each month you pay only the minimum payment, you will pay off the balance shown on this statement in about 12 years, and you will end up paying an estimated total of $2,673. But remember, the original balance I had on this card was $1,300. So because of interest and paying minimum payments, I would end up paying more than double the amount that I borrowed. And even on top of that, these numbers that they gave me were based on me never using the card again. And that's the problem with credit cards. Just one tap and the cycle starts all over again, where I'm paying more interest and it takes me longer to pay it off. And there's literally no end date to your bondage. And I know that everybody has their personal opinion about credit cards, but based off my life experience, I would suggest that if you're not in credit card debt, to never get into it. And if you are in credit card debt, to pay it off as soon as possible and never look back. Because if we continue to use credit cards, we'll never get ahead financially, and we'll be giving our money to the banks for the rest of our lives. Now, the other sign that keeps us broke, and I know this is especially tough nowadays, but it's that our house payment equals out to be too much of our take-home pay. A study that was conducted a few months ago shows that over a quarter of Americans are house poor, meaning that their housing costs add up to be more than 30% of their take-home pay. And the problem with this is when you spend too much money on housing, you don't have enough left over to cover the rest of your lifestyle. Let's say that you make $5,000 a month and your mortgage is 40% of your take-home pay, which is $2,000. That would leave you with $3,000 to cover all the rest of your expenses throughout the month. And when you think about all the payments that we make every month, anything from car payment to utilities, groceries, subscriptions, gas, childcare, after all those things are paid, it doesn't leave much margin for unexpected expenses or to enjoy life, and it makes it really easy for us to rely on borrowing money. And for this reason, financial experts recommend that your house payment be no more than 25% of your take-home pay. Now, there's one factor that all these things have in common that keep us broke, and that's the literal price that we pay for borrowing money. And if you might be in debt and want to break this cycle, check out my free guide that has 7 practical and proven steps to get out of debt and start building wealth. It'll be linked in the show notes below, or you can visit notitribe.com/rich. That's NOTI tribe.com/rich to pick up your free copy today. But if you want to learn about even more ways to make and manage your money, stay tuned and I'll be back before you know it.